Hey, how you doing today? I am Taquila Coleman. In today's video, I'm going to answer one of our standards question around setting healthy boundaries in her marriage and with her parents. Now, listen, if you are a standards are those who are standing for marriage restoration. If you are standing for marriage restoration and you have a question you would like for me to answer on the channel, head over to godordainedmarriages.com, click on the tab that says contact us, and send me your question today. So let's read her question. Hi, Tequila. I am married and in a divine separation with my husband. I believe God told me to separate because my husband was controlling towards me and our daughter, doing unhealthy things in our home. This is not my first time I left him. The enemy is using people close to me, such as my parents, to try to break my marriage. The enemy was using my husband against me by being manipulative of the Bible when it comes to submission and being controlling. We're not talking at all. We did not agree on separation. I left behind his back. I have started my healing season and been in prayer a lot of everything. I'm seeking a godly, healing Christian counselor to work on me. I want my marriage to be restored. I don't want to go back to the same toxic behavior in my marriage. How do I set healthy boundaries within my husband and my parents? I don't want to hear the worldly advice from family. Okay, so thank you for sending in your question. Let's start with the definition for boundaries. Boundary, one of the definition means a line that marks the limits of an area. So when you think about, just enforcing boundaries, right? Your boundaries communicates to the people in your life, like limits, how far they can go with you, right? And so, like this is the line they cannot cross, okay, when it comes down to certain things in your life, right? That's how you can take a look at boundaries. Now, you asked the question, how do you set healthy boundaries within your husband and your parents? Well, you leaving your husband was a boundary in itself, okay? And the fact that the two of you are not talking at all, that's great because when we set a boundary, even if we are establishing this boundary unknowingly, sometimes we just need to let the boundary speak for itself. Okay. So that was a boundary gave to your husband just by leaving him because it's communicating a message to him. Right now, with your parents, you were saying how you don't want to hear the worldly advice from family. And you said the enemy is using people close to you, such as your parents, to try to break your marriage. So clearly, you want your marriage to work. You're believing for marriage restoration. So that is non-negotiable for you, right? When we talk about boundaries, you have to know these are my non-negotiable. It's non-negotiable to entertain people and their advice or their opinions who is speaking against the very thing I believe in, right? When we talk about boundaries, you have to know this is what I will tolerate and I'm not tolerating. This is what I will accept and I'm not accepting in my life, right? Remember, boundaries communicates to the people in your life. This is how far you can go with me. Okay. This is where I stop and where you start. Okay. And so the real problem that we tend to find ourselves dealing with when it comes down to enforcing boundaries, because as I read your email, you are clear on what it is that you want and don't want. You want marriage restoration. You don't want to hear the worldly advice from family. So, because we are clear on what I want and what I don't want, we got to begin to identify, well, what is preventing me from enforcing these boundaries? And this is what holds a lot of people back when we talk about enforcing boundaries, because to enforce a boundary to my family or even to my husband, I first got to get over the fear that my husband is going to leave me or even divorce me and go and marry someone else. Right? If I give my family, specifically my parents, a boundary, I have to get over the fear that if I stand up for myself and enforce a boundary here, I'm not going to lose my parents' love, or I got to get over the fear that my parents would stop supporting me. They would stop loving me. I got to get over the fear of being rejected by a husband or even the parents, right? Because these are the things that stands in our way and prevents us from enforcing boundaries where they are due. because we fear if I stand up for myself, if I enforce this boundary, then they may reject me. They may, withhold their support or even not even support me at all, right? Um, we got to get over, these things, okay? So I need you to identify, okay, well, what's standing in my way that's preventing me from enforcing a boundary here? Because like I said, you are very clear on what it is you want and what it is you don't want. Another thing I would recommend for you to do is, you said you don't want to hear the worldly advice from family. So what specifically worldly advice is it that you don't want to hear? And also, you have to stop talking to worldly people, because when you talk to worldly people about your marriage, you're going to get worldly advice. You have to speak to, just like how you were saying, you are seeking out godly, healing Christian counselor. You have to go where the people, and it's not just really about their title, because they can have a title Christian counselor, but let me look at their fruit. Do you really believe in God? Do you really believe, through prayer that God can restore my marriage, right? That's the person I want to be talking to concerning my marriage restoration, not someone who really don't believe in God, who never had an encounter with God, who doesn't believe in prayer, and who's quick to tell me, go ahead, file a divorce, leave your husband. The very things that I don't want to hear, right? So, and we talk about all of this inside of our God Ordained Marriage Academy. If you haven't already signed up, I invite you to join our God Ordained Marriage Academy simply by heading over to godordainedmarriages.com/academy. Okay. But like I said, you are very clear on what it is you do want. You want your marriage. You want it to be restored. And so now it's all about aligning myself with the people who believe like I believe, who will support me through this process, and who's not speaking against my marriage restoration. Okay. And we also got to overcome the fear or whatever it is that's causing you to not voice, your opinion, or even to continue to sit there and allow your parents to say, these things to you when it's going against what you believe in. Sometimes if you're living with your parents, sometimes you just got to say, you know what, I'm gonna go ahead and get my own place, okay, and just leave it at that, because that is a boundary. It's communicating something, okay, to the people who are speaking the very thing, that's going against your belief, okay. So you gotta, if you don't believe in divorce, if you believe in fighting for your marriage and you are getting opposite advice, you got to come away from those people and enforce a boundary with them. You got to be able to overcome your fear and step in confidence and say, listen, okay, I'm done with this conversation. Just shut it down. You have to know what your non-negotiables are, what you will tolerate and won't tolerate. You have to know, I am deserving, okay, of this, right? And I'm not just, I'm not about to sit here and just continue to listen to this toxic conversation. You see what I'm saying, right? So boundaries, they start with self-love. It starts with you knowing this is what I deserve and what I don't deserve. Okay. It starts with putting yourself first, standing up for yourself, just taking a stand for it, even if that means you're the only one standing for what you believe in, so be it. That's what the Bible says. Do not conform to the patterns of this world. We are called to stand out. We are called to stand on what this Bible say. So if God says stand for your marriage, that's exactly what you do. Whoever is not in agreement with it, you got to come away from them and get them out of your ear, because they are now working for the enemy, trying to come in between your marriage. Okay. So that is my advice. I am Taquila Coleman. Make sure you like this video, subscribe to the channel, and leave me a positive comment. I'll talk to you all real soon. Take care.